We're on the phone with the one and only Richard Masur. You remember him from movies like My Girl, It, The Thing, Mr. Boogedy, License to Drive, so many films over the years. And he's coming to Crypticon in Minnesota here September 16th through the 18th. Mr. Masur, how you doing today?
Hi, Dustin. I'm okay.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Okay, great.
Well, first of all, you are coming to Crypticon in Minnesota here September 16th through the 18th, and I know a lot of folks are excited for the event and excited to meet you. Are you looking forward to coming to Minnesota?
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I think it's one of the prettiest places in the world, and this is a good time to be there, so I don't have to bring all my winter clothes. So it's good.
Yeah, I think this is your first time at a convention like this in Minnesota. Do you do a lot of conventions like this, other states?
Well, I've done several in different places, but I'm not exactly, one of the people who's been out on the circuit for years. I've on and off, I've done them here and there. I'm doing a few more this year because of circumstances, but I'm very happy to be coming there.
Excellent. Yeah, you've got a unique career where you've been in a lot of iconic horror films, but a lot of people know you from other, comedic, dramatic roles. So you're kind of able to ride both sides of the fence, I guess, when it comes to conventions like this.
Yeah, well, it took me a while to figure out, what to bring and what to be prepared for. And what I realized was it didn't matter whether I was at a horror convention or a more general purpose convention. What I'd get is people who'd see that I was coming would come and talk, they'd bring me things or talk to me about all, huge range of things. So I started trying to bring as much stuff as I could that would cover the waterfront, so to speak, so people wouldn't go away empty-handed. And though a lot of people do bring me stuff that they'd like to have me sign or just take a picture or whatever. But I've had a really good and interesting time. So many people that I've met at these conventions have been so nice and thoughtful and really genuinely happy to have me there, and I'm very happy to see them too. So that was a surprise to me. I'm kind of a shy guy by nature, so it's been nice to get out and about and see more people who've been watching all these years. I've been doing this for almost 50 years now, so it's a lot of people.
Yeah, and your IMDb page goes on for miles. What are some of the roles you're surprised that people bring up to you at these conventions? You know what?
It's not so much surprised anymore. I'm just delighted when they pick out something that no one else has asked about in a while or ever. Like I had this. I did this little. It was a pilot for an anthology horror series that was going to be on. We did it at Universal, and I don't remember what network it was going to be for, but it was a 2-hour pilot for what was going to be an hour anthology series, and there were 4 half-hour segments. So it's structured like a 2-hour TV movie, and I was in one of them with a wonderful actress named Veronica Cartwright, and the piece was called Nightmares, and it ended up, like I said, we were at Universal, and they had done a film. I think it was the Twilight Zone movie, actually, that was not released it wasn't ready to be released because they had that horrible accident. If I'm remembering correctly, It was the Twilight Zone, which was also wildly an anthology piece, feature though. And what happened was that they had nothing to send to the different distributors when they were supposed to be delivering the Twilight Zone, and they had this piece, Nightmares, that they had done some testing on, and I think it got already decided not to go ahead with as a series, But they just threw this out there with no ads or anything really, and just stuck it in the theaters. And so a lot of people got to see it as a feature, which was weird because it was made as a pilot for a TV series. But it happens once in a while. And that one is really, it was only out there a short time. I don't know that they ever released it in video. They probably did, but I didn't remember that. And so when someone comes up to me with something having to do with nightmares, I'm always like, whoa, how did you know about this? So that's one of them. But there are others, too.
Excellent. And again, Richard Masur will be coming to Crypticon in Minnesota, September 16th through the 18th. And some of my favorites, ones that meant a lot to me growing up, were Mr. Boogedy and Bride of Boogity. Can you talk to us a little bit about your memories of making those?
Well, that's a perfect example because when I first went out doing these, mostly what I was doing was conventions with other guys from The Thing, the movie The Thing, and so I was expecting people to come and talk to me about The Thing or maybe It, the original miniseries that we did. Was a great cast, a great group of people, and it was really good too. And a lot of people, it's really stuck in their minds. And then people would come up to me and say, I first saw Mr. Boogedy when I was a kid, and then we recorded it, and my brothers and I can't tell you, this happened several times. They would say, my brothers and I watched this VHS tape that we recorded off the air, maybe the second time it ran, and we watched that tape over and over every Halloween. And then when eventually what happened was we got older, we had kids of our own, and we would all get together and we would do the same thing with our kids. And now they haven't had kids yet, but they're getting to be of an age where they're not watching it so much. But we've worn the tape out. It's just you can't even see it anymore. And we have these really old machines we watch it on. And they would say to me, and I'm not kidding when I told you I've heard the exact same story several times. And they would say, how can we get a hold of a good copy of this? And I would go, I have no idea. As far as I know, Disney's never released this, and I don't know why they didn't put it out on VHS, let alone on DVD. By this time, I'm having these conversations, and and I said to them, write to Disney and say, could you please release Mr. Boogedy? Because that's the one they would talk to me about mostly, was Mr. Boogedy. And because they would conflate the two, sure. We did a sequel. But anyway, so that's what happened. And one day somebody came up to me with what looked like a professionally made DVD. I'd seen some of these that were just crap that people had bought off of the internet, that were DVDs made from old VHSs. They were horrible looking. And I said, where'd you get this? And he told me, and then I said, wow. And then about a year later, somebody said to me, oh, no, you can get it on Amazon now. It's streaming on Amazon, and I think Bride of Boogity is going to come out soon. And then when Disney Plus, when that started, well, it's available there all the time. So there are two additional generations of people watching this goofy little movie that we made. I'm not answering your question about telling you stories about the making of it, but I'm happy to go back and do that now if you want.
Yeah, that's. I have a similar story. Remember taping it off of, I think it was Disney Sunday Night Movie, something like that, and,
right.
and watching
that's
it forever.
Exactly right.
And now my son watches it as well. It's as you mentioned, it's definitely been around on everyone's playlist here for at least 30 years or so.
Oh, more, and you know what? It's the kind of thing we made. Here's the story of how it got made. When Michael Eisner became the head of the Disney Corporation, he was a huge fan of the Disney Walt Disney Presents, which was the original name of the show. it had different names, and eventually became the Disney Sunday Night Movie, and he loved that, and he wanted to get that going again. And Walt Disney would introduce every show, and Walt Disney was a particularly charming kind of older guy with a mustache, and everybody really liked him, even though he had some sort of political issues that some people aren't happy about. But anyway, the thing is that Disney would introduce each of these shows, and so Michael decided he was going to do that. He would be the voice of the Sunday Night Movie. So he was really excited about this. And one of the first things he commissioned was this goofy little story about a family. And the father runs a joke shop, and he's just moved to a new town to open this joke shop. And they move into this big old creepy looking house, which everybody in town thinks is haunted, and he thinks that's funny. And he moves in there with his 3 kids and his wife, and sure enough, it's haunted. And so it's a comedy horror show about for kids, and families would watch this together initially, and it was tailored to a really young audience. So there was some scary stuff, but not crazy, not really scary. Though it was scary enough for little kids, I guess. And then Eisner liked it so much after we did it, he immediately commissioned a sequel, which took a couple of years before we got it made, and that was The Bride of Boogity, and that was a special 2-hour special. And I think we had burned up the franchise at that point. There was just no way to make another one. But there were some great people in it. Mimi Kennedy was in it. Christy Swanson, who was the original Buffy in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was one of her early things that she did, and John Astin was in it, who was Sean Astin's dad. Sam Gamgee from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and anyway, so that's the story. It was a big hit, and Eisner was thrilled with it.
Well, now with the Disney Plus and nostalgia for that time period is at an all-time high. Could you pull some strings? Maybe get the Davis family back together for the third installment, you think?
That would not be up to me. And the Davis children now would be old enough almost to have grandchildren, so I'm not sure how that would work. But it's a sweet thought, and maybe someone listening will take you up on it.
Well, Richard, what are you working on now? Do you have any films or any shows in the works that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I have a piece that's coming out. Well, it's not my piece, but I'm in it. It's coming out on Netflix. I'm not sure exactly when they're going to drop it, but it's a really interesting. It's an 8-part miniseries called Jigsaw. And it stars Giancarlo Esposito, who's just a great actor. He's done so much wonderful work, and a lot of other really good people in it. But he's the lead. And this is all I can tell you, because really this is all I know. There are 8 parts. 7 of them will drop all at once, the way Netflix does this. They drop them all, and you can binge them. And they're not numbered, though, and mostly when things drop, they're numbered, and you watch them in order. But there is no order. They're color-coded. There's the red episode, the green episode, the blue, the yellow, the white, the black, whatever. And there are 7 of them, and you can watch all 7 in any order that you choose, but you can't see the 8th episode until you've watched the other 7. Huh. And Netflix will track your account that way to see if you've watched them all. And only after you've watched the other 7 will it allow you to watch the 8th. And the 8th episode is the one that pulls it all together, and that's why it's called Jigsaw. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you don't know what the picture is until you finish it.
Wow.
And I have no idea what it's about because I was in one of these episodes. I think Giancarlo and the director and the producer are the only people who, and I guess the crew, are the only people who really know what it's about, because I don't know how many actors even went through all the episodes to be able to know what it's all about. So anyway, Jigsaw.
Yeah, that is awesome. It really seems like with the technology available now and all the streaming capabilities, it's kind of like a renaissance for filmmakers. Definitely an exciting time to come up with these kind of ideas.
Yeah, and there are all kinds of just wonderful people doing this work on streaming services, but everything's a streaming service now. I mean, all the studios have their own services. Most of the networks have their own services, and then they're making product for broadcast, the broadcast networks and stuff. However, they're still like HBO will release stuff on HBO, but they also have HBO Max, and they'll stream it right after the first airing on the network. So there's so much really high quality stuff with great people working on it. It's a really good time to be a viewer.
Definitely. And again, you're going to be coming to Crypticon in Minnesota, September 16th through the 18th. You mentioned Jigsaw. Yep. Is there anything else maybe you want to mention before I let you go?
No, that's about it. I've always got stuff going on, but that's the only one that I'm okay to talk about right now.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to meeting you here at Crypticon. And as I mentioned, the Boogedy films, and the first film I remember seeing as a kid in the drive-in, actually, License to Drive. So I've been a big fan of yours for a long, long time.
Yeah, that's another one. That's I can tell how old people are by the ones they come up and talk to me about. There's a whole layer of Risky Business people. There's a layer of License to Drive people. There's a layer of My Girl people, and then Mr. Boogedy, which spans everybody. And The Thing also spans pretty much everybody. And I'm always startled by how many really young people are into The Thing and it, the original miniseries we did. And there are a whole bunch of people from that show that are gone. Same thing with The Thing. There are only about 6 or so of us left. It's maybe 7, I guess. But as time goes on, we thin out. So come and get us while we're there. Okay.
Excellent. Again, it's been an honor speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to meeting you.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to be coming to Minneapolis.
All right. Thank you so much, Richard.
Okay. Take care.
And again, that was the one and only Richard Masur, and you'll have a chance to meet him at Crypticon in Minnesota here. It's coming up September 16th through the 18th. Get your tickets now at CrypticonMinneapolis.com.